Whenever you spot trail markers like this, it's possible that they lead to a hunting stand or deer blind. I did not expect this much snow. Middle of April and we still have a foot or two in some spots. Growing out of this Betula alleganensis, or yellow birch tree, is a very sought after medicinal mushroom known as Inonotus obliquus, or chaga mushroom. And this black mass here is a fungus that grows specifically on birch trees. Grows in association with birch trees. Inonotus obliquus, or chaga mushrooms, are highly sought after for their medicinal properties. This fungus contains polysaccharides, which are good for immune health, boosting the immune system. Contains antioxidants, which help fight a multitude of things like cancer. Identifying chaga mushrooms is fairly easy. Like I said, they only grow on birch tree species, like this Betula alleganensis, yellow birch. And there are these black masses that when you break open, they have a very nice golden color inside. I'll be taking this piece home with me. It's good for making tea. That's probably the best function. You can also make alcohol tinctures, which are more potent. Yes, this is a very sought after mushroom, and you may have heard of it before. Chaga, Inonotus obliquus. Welcome to the identifying feces segment of the episode. Anybody know what this is? These are narrow, oval-shaped pellets, about maximum 3 centimeters in length. This is the feces of Odocleus virginianus, otherwise known as white-tailed deer, which is a fairly large mammal native to North America. Little bit of zoology for you. Mammals are warm-blooded vertebrates defined by having mammary glands, which are glands that produce milk for their young. Mammals also give birth to live young, unlike reptiles or birds where they give birth to eggs, which then hatch the young. Across the trail is a small fallen hemlock tree. In the canopy of the tree, it's a little nest. If you look closely, this nest is made up of lots of small twigs. And I believe this is a blue jay nest. Blue jays tend to make their nests out of very thin twigs and sticks, whereas other birds tend to make their nests out of bundles of dead grass, animal fur, soft bark that they can find that's been peeling off the tree. So this leads me to believe this is a blue jay nest, as it's purely made of twigs. Which species created this feces? Now, I'm not an expert at identifying excrement, but looking at this, the arc-shaped, rounded, long pellets, I can see the ground-up kind of pine cone shells in there. This is going to lead me to believe that this is porcupine shit. Now, porcupines are fairly large rodents. They are rodents. They are also mammals, meaning they are warm-blooded vertebrates that give birth to live young, and they also have mammary glands, which makes them mammals. They produce milk. Porcupines are covered in quills, which is their main defense against predators, other than climbing a tree to evade. Porcupines are herbivores, and they do have an opportunistic diet, just like any other wild animal, but they are mainly herbivores, meaning they eat plants. And their diet changes seasonally, from eating fresh berries in the summer to the pine cones and pine nuts and pine bark in the winter. Porcupines are rodent mammals in the order Rodentia in the class of Mammalia. Let me know if I'm wrong on this, as like I said, if you got any thoughts, I'll get another close-up there. If you can tell me that I'm wrong, or better inform me on what this is, I'm gonna go ahead and say porcupine shit. Well, I am headed to the very top of this. This is gonna be fun. Also, it's fucking middle of April. Why is there 7 feet of snow outside? Let's get into a little bit of geology here. So in geology, there is a subject called rock texture types. And these texture types are to identify the appearance of a rock by its texture. And there are certain words, terminology used in geology. The three main ones are aphanitic, phaneritic, and porphyritic. And these words are used to describe the grain size of the rock. Aphanitic means the grain size is less than a millimeter, which is very fine, almost microscopic or barely visible with the human eye. Then there is phaneritic, which means the crystals are a millimeter or larger. All the interlocking crystals of the rock are visible with the naked eye. And then there is porphyritic, which is a mixture of aphanitic and phaneritic, where one rock possesses both texture types. Now, out of the three texture types, which would you say this rock is? Phaneritic, aphanitic, or porphyritic? Well, just by looking closely at the grain size, I can visually see the crystals that make up the rock, and they are a millimeter, in some cases larger than a millimeter. So this would be a phaneritic texture type. Furthermore, this rock is intrusive igneous, meaning it was formed by magma and cooled underground. Intrusive, meaning in the ground. Igneous, meaning formed by liquid magma. This rock has very defined interlocking crystals, so it is a phaneritic texture type. And just by looking at the individual crystals, I can tell that there is quartz in here. I can tell that there is feldspar in here. Different kinds of feldspar, both plagioclase and alkali. The red coloring comes from the alkali feldspar, which has amounts of potassium and iron in it, which have oxidized in the air, giving this rust brick red color. These mountains are actually ancient, very, very ancient, billions of years old. In fact, these mountains are far older than trees, older than animals, possibly older than cellular life. Yeah, so these are ancient formations, and the reason they appear so rounded, as you maybe saw in the shot earlier, is that's the reason why they are so old, and they have been weathered over billions and millions of years. That the stiff, sharp peaks that they once were are no longer there. They have been eroded, and that is why you find so much sand in this area. This area is littered with sand dunes, sand pits. Underneath all of the leaf litter is sand, and that is due to the millions and billions of years of rock erosion from these mountains. All right, I saw this tree and I went to go drop my gear down and came back so I can get a better look at it. I'm not an expert on this, and if there's anyone watching this that can maybe help me or give me some insight, that would be greatly appreciated. So what I think this is this tree here is bent like this with a vertical limb. I believe this is a Native American tree marker. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but looking at the way this tree is shaped, it looks almost identical to a Native American tree marker, which is, they do this when the trees are young, when they're saplings. They would bend the tree over and tie it to the ground, and then they would cut the tip of the sapling off and let one vertical branch grow up. And basically they did this, they bent the trees in specific directions to point somewhere. Where this points, I have no idea. It would have had to have been a site that was important to the Native Americans for them to do something like this. But again, if there's anyone watching that can give me some insight, that would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, looking at it closely, I can clearly tell that this was bent down and then cut and left to grow, which this doesn't happen in nature. Trees don't grow downward and then cut themselves off and then start growing up again. So that's what's kind of leading me to believe it's a Native American marker. The only thing puzzling me is the age of the tree. To me, it doesn't seem very old, but then again, manipulating the tree like this, bending it, cutting it, whatever, might affect the way it grows. So, or it could just be not that old. It could be that, Native American settlers were here not that long ago. Quick tip. Once you're done using a piece of gear, like this ferro rod for instance, put it away. Forgot to bring a spoon or a fork, so I had to improvise. Use the piece of tinfoil from my sandwich. Seems to work. Focus. Shazam. Well, I was gonna make breakfast, but with the fucking 50-mile-per-hour winds up here, it's looking like that's a no-go. Looking like a good old banana for breakfast. Yesterday we spoke of rock texture types, aphanitic, porphyritic, and phaneritic. This is an example of a aphanitic texture type. The crystal grains that make up this rock are barely visible with the naked eye, definitely below a millimeter. So this would be an aphanitic texture type. Other examples of aphanitic texture would be like a fine-grained basalt, Tsuga canadensis, otherwise known as eastern hemlock, in the pine family Pinaceae. And these guys get pretty tall. The bark is kind of reddish brown with these overlapping ridges and scales. Sadly, eastern hemlock trees are under pressure due to the hemlock woolly aldegid. This is Betula papyrifera, or paper birch tree, characterized by its paper-like bark. It's a great fire starter. You know, on the mountain, I was worried that I may not have enough water, so my plan was, if I ran out of water, to tap some trees, and birch trees would have been my first choice rather than maple. I just prefer the taste of the birch sap. This is Abies balsamea, or balsam fir tree, in the family Pinaceae. It's typically characterized by its bark having these sap blisters. Maybe I'll find a younger one further down the trail to showcase that. Oh, a nice hawk flew over me. Here is a younger Abies balsamea, or balsam fir. And I can show you. See how it's got these blisters? You pop one of them, bleeds sap. It's got blisters all over the tree everywhere. That stuff is good to put on wounds. Actually, I might put some on my cut right now. It does help prevent infection, and it helps seal up the wound. Oh, wow. Oh, very pungent. Holy mother. If you made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hope that you learned something. And hopefully this inspires you to get out. Get off your ass. As always, take care and peace. And it helps seal up the wound. Oh, wow. Oh, very pungent. Holy mother. Of which species created this feces? Mass here is a fungus known as Ononotus. Yesterday I spoke about rock phaneritic and porphyritic. The grains on this rock are visible with the naked eye. They are so fine, below a millimeter. Fine-grained basalt. Crystal size is not visible. Furthermore, obsidian and chert category called mineraloid, or similar to glass. And today I will be using this tree as a fire starter. Holy shit, I'm gonna fucking die. I'm literally gonna die. It's the second time that's happened.